Look who decided to show up, folks. Look who's here. It's been a while since we rock and rolled. Busy sports, busy sports. So thank you. It's late night. I don't know who I'm gonna get in here, one or two people, but I'm gonna keep the saga continues. I'm gonna keep the train rolling. So a lot of sports today. Holy cow. All the football, the baseball game, even the WNBA. The WNBA has turned it around. Very popular and very successful. Of course, I had bashed them before when they were. But so these mafia rules and mobster tales, I wanted to talk about people that are a major rule that you hear a lot with Mike Francis and these other guys, but speaking out of rank, like you can't speak out of rank, whatever your position is, and then you're out in the streets with somebody or this or that, and then you claim to be this, and it's taboo. You get smashed in for that. I've seen it happen a couple times. That's why I got very peed off at Mike Francis. God bless Mike, but he was doing that, claiming to be a captain and a boss and all this. The boss. Yeah, he was a makeshift captain, but you can't do that. You can't do that. Well, if you do, then you end up being a rat, like, testifying in front of Congress to save your ass. So, hey, Mike. So I want to talk a little about whatever we want to talk about. These are like some mobster rule type of things, and I try to take notes, but I never follow them. But when there's so many interactions going around or going on, and I interact with most of the crew, and I'm always getting to ask questions because it's a money hustle, and Jojo, how did Tony do on that game last week? Well, I don't know. How did Jimmy do with this or that? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I learned that quick. No, Jimmy made 7,000. Oh, I didn't know he owed somebody over here 9,000. Oh no, no. Very, very cunning. Every time when they speak to you in the mafia on a casual level at the racetrack or this or that, it's always this leveraging for information in subtle ways, locked and loaded questions. So I started playing, I don't know, I'm not sure, and because you start playing those games, it gets late early. It gets late real early. And, and there were some guys running around that weren't made men, but they had cousins or other people in there. And they would try to use that in their hustles and leverage until it got back to the person. And then they would get straightened out in one way or another. But yeah, it's a different type of thing where in regular society, there's the regular rules and norms and mores and all that, societal norms. But then there's mafiosa norms and rules that some seem silly. And it happened to me many times where if you're at a gathering, I can't just approach somebody and say, hey, what's going on? My name is Billy, blah, 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 blah. No, somebody has to introduce you. A made guy has to introduce you 95% of the time. There might be other occasions. If I'm working a card game, I'm running around and everything, and a guy gives me an order, go get me a drink and some cold cuts or whatever. I don't have to get introduced in the middle of a card game or something like that. They're doing something. But formalities in the more public, well, in their secret public arenas, you got to follow that stuff. And the women, stay away from the women at these social gatherings. Stay away from the women. And it's like, I think the people around the mob that aren't made, they like to glorify it. Like back then in that era, there were so many wannabes running around, so many. And some of them cause trouble. They just cause trouble, getting in the way, stupid things, and they get smashed up, some worse than others. But I wanted to I wanted to talk about another thing about when it's the boss, Sam, he would ask me a lot of questions about the crew, money wise, where they're going, everything else. So I broke the rules initially, but he liked it that I was in the trenches and I was his eyes and ears mostly after hours running around with his crew. And I would report back to him and I would tell him everything. Most of the time I would tell him everything. And another rule, don't cheat with your buddy's wife, stuff like that, which is completely insane. Completely insane. How it's like a microcosm of the same behaviors of regular society, but it's just within there. Like there's crazies in the regular society. If something goes wrong, they turn violent. But it's just like you're around these guys, you gotta. I learned to just be like straight answers. Then they'd get pissed off and they'd say, "What are you being short with me for?" I'd just be like, "I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know what Sam said." "Oh, well, you talked to Sam for an hour and a half." "Well, we talked about the Yankees. We talked about the Bills. Yankees Dodgers World Series, Bills Day, Bills Mafia." So yeah, everything and the my what happened to me was I I was intimate around these guys and I knew all their dirty deeds. I knew all their dirty deeds. And it was good sometimes, it was bad other times. But another thing that's what happened, just another rule. We'll just throw 80 rules into this segment, all right? There was these guys, they were sharp gamblers. They would come in, whatever, but they weren't part of the ring, the gambling ring, but they would come in and they'd mess around and um, they were getting paid. And the one guy was bragging, they always lost, but when they won, they thought they were the best thing since sliced bread. They thought they were the best handicappers of sports and all that. But a one guy, uh, he he was a cocky bastard, and he was being flashy. He was in the drug game, I believe. The drug game. They were moving. The mafia doesn't sell drugs. Yeah, they sell more drugs than the CVS pharmacy. Okay. This guy, pretty colorful, crafty, arrogant, had money somehow, and he was flashing all the time, talking smack. And I had to give him a ride by accident or just however it come. Something happened and I was there. He said, "Oh, Joey, you'll give him a ride," whatever. And he paid me handsomely. Now so I gave him a ride without incident. About 3 or 4 days later, Sam, the boss, comes up to me. He says, "Joey, where'd you bring Jackie? Where'd you bring him? Where'd you bring him?" I said, "Well, I brought him over here." He says, "Well, he hasn't been seen in a couple 3 days." I don't know. I don't know. He had a bankroll. He had a lot of money. Don't look at me. Well, nobody's heard from him since me. So I says, I don't know. What am I going to do? Roll him? He had maybe 8,000, 9,000 on him. He got drunk, and I dropped him off at a spot, an unfamiliar spot. I knew every nook and cranny around there from giving these guys, but this was a different occasion. This guy wasn't with the crew, so he's missing. And then about a day or two or whatever, I can't remember all this shit. Somebody else comes in there, and Sam wasn't in there yet. And the barmaid, this is the club, the barmaid says, "Oh, Joey, somebody, so I'm talking to this guy. He's asking me all these questions." I says, "Nah, I don't know nothing. You're gonna have to wait for Sam to come in. You're being accusatory on me. I don't know what happened. Where did you bring him? What, blah, blah, blah." I said he was drunk as a skunk. I brung him over here at this place, unfamiliar place, a little ways out. I said somebody betrayed him. That's all. Somebody betrayed him. That's all there is to it. So all of a sudden, some other cat that owed big money ended up paying his tab, and he had some little extra money. I was like, well, put two and two together. This other guy was in deep. He was in real deep, and he was in fear for his life. And I think he just took a shot and said, I don't care. I'm going to rob somebody. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to save my own ass. And they come to find out, he rolled the guy. He was waiting on him. He rolled him. And I don't know what happened, the violence that occurred. I don't know. I'm not privileged to that information. And he got him. So some of these guys, these degenerate gamblers, they would come across these rolls, and then they would flash, yeah. They were all broke by Tuesday or Wednesday anyways. But when you start owing 5 figures, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 to some of these families, you start thinking different. This is a late night version, folks. Get a coffee. I got mine. I don't know how long I'm going to go, but that's all. How many sporting events can a person watch in one day? Holy cow. I said, let me do a video. Say hello to Mike and Mr. Spataro. What the hell? Keep some little action going. The Mobster tales, Mafia rules. Oh my gosh. You just can't you can't speak at somebody else's. Well, Joe, how did Rick do at the racetrack? Even something innocent. Well, I'm not sure. Did he win? Did he lose? Did he break even? I don't know. I don't know what happened. Well, you were right there with him. Oh, I don't know. He just kept secluded. I don't know. That's all. That's all. I don't know anything. Because then the guy goes back and tells the guy, oh, Jojo told me you won all this and that, blah, 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 blah. Nah. They'll come with trick questions. They'll come with everything else. Everything else. We're not even going to get in another Mafia rule. We'll do another video about the girlfriends and the trouble that girlfriends cause with married married couples. So yeah, you never show your hand, and you want to just remain level. You didn't lose big, you didn't win big. Just keep everything even keel. But all of a sudden, they freaking come across and they want to flash. And I did roll a guy. I rolled him. He's lucky he had his socks left. He was flashing everything. I said, let me grab him. Let me grab him. I got in a little trouble for it, but it was all right. I said, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. He was a cocky, arrogant, no good rodent anyways. But yeah, fair game because he was in the drug business. Yeah, there's a lot of Yeah. Oh, mafia rule number one. Oh, don't sell drugs. Every family in the mafia sold drugs to some extent. Every family. The Colombo family sold more drugs than CVS pharmacy, of course. So, yeah, kilos after kilos after kilos. These guys were turning into coke heads and degenerate gamblers and womanizers. The old man Sam was going nuts half the time. I think he already knew what their fate was. Maybe they knew what their fate was too, and they just wrote it out as the best they could. I mean, I knew a guy that he was in trouble, and he come around, and I would talk to him about psychology and stuff like that, psychological stuff. Well, ask JoJo, blah, 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 whatever, all that crazy shit. But he said, "Oh, I don't have long, Joe. I don't have long." Uh, I said he owed all this money. I says, "Well, they're afraid you're gonna rat because you owe, and then you're afraid that when you get busted, they rat, and so they know the end is near." I said, "You might as well just turn yourself in and just do the time, because witness protection, folks, doesn't save everybody." They just think, oh, you don't see on videos, oh, they went into the witness protection like Sammy the Bull and all that. No, no. I'm not saying that it's not even, well, maybe it's not even that far-fetched that even the feds let some of that intelligence out on where so-and-so is. You can't put nothing past the feds, folks, when it comes to mob tube and mafia tube and everything else like that. They're just they get down and dirty just the same. And if they're gunning for somebody that got away, that beat a case or so, and they beat another case, they're coming. They're coming. And some of these guys feel like they don't have any resort. Some guys commit suicide. Some guys run in the Niagara River. They jump. And I says, well, I told the guy, if you're going to be like that, get an insurance policy and get whacked. Tell them, leave my body in the street, because you got to have a body more or less for the insurance policy. Yeah, here, if I'm going to get hit, here's the insurance, pay my tab, and then, I'll pay my tab, post-mortem, my wife, and then get something out of it than just a cold-blooded murder and there's no money. You might as well get some insurance money. But that's why you got desperados out there that don't play by the rules, and they get themselves in all this kind of trouble. They had a big gambling ring. These guys, crew members, they're hustling drugs and they're making their money on other things. And gambling ring, one, and they got a nice bankroll Monday or Tuesday or like Wednesday or Thursday. But by Monday Night Football, the next day, they're all broke again, talking about their bad beats. I had a couple today myself. But that's gambling. Got to have action. So I would more or less stay to myself. Don't say much. I'm a sociable person, of course, and I like to talk and everything, but no. People, I'm running around. I had a couple guys in there I was closer to that I thought that were friends. Not like your friend from second grade or third grade, but I thought we had a good rapport together. And the boss told me, Joey, don't give this guy any more rides. I said, well, no. He says, no, Joey, listen, none of these guys are your friends. Don't, if they're giving you tips, $100 bills and all that, they're not your friends, Joe. Aren't you smarter than that? So I'm barring you from giving these guys rides. But I did behind his back a little bit, but then things got hot, and I was like, no, no, thank you, no, thank you. And Sam, the boss, he would throw me a couple extra bucks, but well, or Sam, or if he wanted to um, know somebody specifically, and I gave him a ride, he'd say, Joey, what? He was watching a guy. Where'd he go? What did he do? What did he talk to? Who? What did this guy look like? What was this? And I would tell him. I would tell him, and then I told Sam about this guy, and he was flashing money or whatnot. This is when I was robbing them. When they get drunk, they get passed out drunk, and they got that money all over the place. And he said, just don't. But I broke the rule, and I did again. But he says, no, you're gonna go for a ride with one of these guys. You're not gonna come back. So proceed at your own risk. No, but he's my friend. He's my friend. He ain't your friend, Joe. Uh, you think you? I grew up street smart and book smart, and I thought I had a good, keen intuition and to read people. That's all this mafia stuff is. You're reading people in a snap. A 1 minute, 2 minute conversation, you're reading, and you think you're reading somebody and you're doing a good job, and you're not. It ain't like just regular civilians out there that you can peg. Oh, this is what they're doing. This is what he's capable of or not gonna do. It's different. Read. You can't get a read on these guys. You just can't get a read. So I kind of backed off of a couple other stuff because some of them, the natives were getting restless when it come to me. Oh, go run to Sam. Oh, you told Sam on me, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm not lying to Sam. I'm not lying to Sam about nothing anymore. Nothing any. I'm more afraid of Sam, our boss, than you guys. And that's all. And then my godfather, who did work for the family, enforcer, he couldn't protect me anymore. So that all came to an end. You're on your own, Joe. Grab the rest of the couple dollars that you can and get the hell out of there. I got a little greedy and I made a couple other mistakes. Greed is a mofo. Greed is a mofo. They try to outfox your mind. Like, seen so little innocent shit that they're trying to read into. So you're not that talkative, Joe. No, well, I'd rather talk about sports than uh, uh, all these characters. What did so and so say? Did he have money? What did Jimmy say? Did he have money on him? What did Ricky say? Oh, did he have money on him? Oh, what is it? Oh, where'd you bring him? It's like, you'll be nuts. That's why I don't understand these guys. They risk their lives. It's either the prison or a pine box. Excuse me. The least you can do when you're raking in this money is put it aside, some of it for your family and your future. That's all. Put some aside. You're handling tens of thousands. Put it on. Put some away for your prison fund while you go do 7 years and your wife and kids are crying in the prison parking lot. I mean, but they just figure you don't retire. You just don't retire out of the mob unless you're 80 or 70 and you just rock and roll, or you won't have you'll get older if you're if you're on the lower rungs. You'll just ride off and live your elderly life, unless you're a captain or a boss. You'll be 90, and you can't. That's why I don't want to get made into the mob. I wasn't a made guy. I don't want to get made man. I'm the one that's trying to get. They all run around hustling. They got to hand the money up, and a lot of times they weren't handing up their hustle, their drug money up. Sam didn't like to speak about that drug thing. So those Colombians came up, but they they wanted to. Sam wasn't down for it, but not not like on a lower level. They're down on kilos that you can come, boom, 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 move kilos, boom, boom, boom. It's quick and fast. That's it. But you can't buy a kilo or 2 kilos and then piecemeal it and sell it in $50 bags or $100 bags. No. So yeah, they sold a lot. I don't know why Mike Francis, God bless Mike, but I don't know why he always. I think because his personal experience with his family and drugs, I think he just wasn't so forward in saying that um, the mafia sold drugs. There was a warehouse in Manhattan, uh, the garment industry, the garment district, and they had these big warehouses over there. And my godfather would was with knew another guy that they had hundreds of thousands worth of drugs in that place. And they had a 24-hour guard, and then they had another guy that that could go in. They had it protected more or less. It was secure like Fort Knox, and they never. Somebody might have tried to rob it once or twice, but I wish they would have, because I didn't like the guy that my godfather was dealing with. I wish they would have robbed him and smashed, but he was protected by my godfather. My godfather mostly worked for the Colombo family, but he was for hire. He was for protection. Anybody that's got those Ben Franklins, he'll do it. He'll do what you want if he agrees what the situation is. I used to ask him, uh, "Did you use any discrepancy, or did you use any uh, what's the word? If somebody comes to you, Mickey, with some kind of hit or some violence, do you ask, or do you know the person's background or this or that?" And so, more or less, he said most of the time it was for a reason that I agreed with the hierarchy. He would agree, and then he would do whatever he had to do, as long as it was morally. Now, this is crazy. My godfather was had a very, very high IQ, but he's a serial killer, but he still wanted a level of some morality, or who deserves it and who doesn't deserve it. I mean, killers just say, "Oh, give me the money, I'll kill, I'll kill, I'll kill. Just give me the money." But he used to use a little discretion in more or less what he was gonna do or not. Yeah, hanging guys out of windows 11 stories high. A lot of times, scare tactic, or if it came across a hit that they proposed to him and he could just refuse it and say no, but that would cause a little friction, because it's like, well, now he's gonna tip off another guy and say, "Holy cow, uh, uh, hey, John, mm, they wanted me to whack you over here. They wanted me to whack you, but I refused. So you better get out of Dodge, or you better do what you got to do." But he was soft spoken, but he was a serial killer. God rest his soul. God forgive me. He saved me from them. He saved me. I made a couple mistakes. I told you, he saved me. He saved me. And the crew I was with eventually dissolved for whatever reasons. They went missing. 5, 6 guys, they went missing. And I didn't know anything about it. Just keep my mouth shut. I'm not privileged to know a hit or not. But um, my godfather, years later, I said, well, because that was dissolved. Sam retired, and then the New York fashion, the New York segment came in, and they ran a good gambling ring. But I got out of there. But you know, I said, "Did you whack the crew, Sam's crew? Did you whack them, or what?" Now this is 30 years removed. This is 30. He goes, "What do you think, Jojo?" I says, "Well, you were a hired hand for the Colombos." well, what's the story there? You know, he says, well, you'll just have to guess on that. You know, he knew that I knew, but you just don't utter that. You just don't utter it. Even if we're freaking twin brothers, you don't utter that shit. You don't utter anything. If you and a guy go do a beef, go do a job. If you and a guy go do a job, and then you go back to the club and you're sitting there by yourself or whatever, and the guy goes, "Wow, that was a nice hit, huh?" But buddy, well, I don't know what you're talking about. What hit? Well, you're right there with me. Not, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Would you dream that up? If they tell you the sky is blue, no, it don't look blue. I don't know if it's blue or not. I don't know if it's blue or not. No. You don't know if somebody's already cooperating. You don't know the rat infiltration that was going on. You don't know these types of questions. You don't know. And then all of a sudden, here come the feds knocking your door down, and they got tapes with this guy, and you're like, "Oh, geez, why'd I say that? What? Well, I thought he was my buddy." Yeah, okay, yeah. There's absolutely no friends in the mob. Acquaintances, yes. Acquaintances, yeah. I'm being a little extreme, but it's too much mental hopscotch. It's too much psychological warfare. Nobody's gonna approach me just out of friendship things. Hey Joe, did you watch the game? Did you do this or that? Yeah, they might give you that that might be the introduction, but then all of a sudden they're trying to information gather, and it's just like, well, I heard this, I seen this rerun before. I heard this song and dance before, and they used to get mad at me. Uh, then they would try to scare me. Oh, you're trying to stick up for this guy. Well, yeah, he told me he was gonna freaking smash you up. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing, Billy. Whatever happens to me, my godfather knows where everybody lives. Because I know where everybody lives. Because I dumped your drunk asses off many, many times. So do whatever you want to do. But when my godfather comes around, there ain't gonna be nothing left. And whoever's around, the collateral damage after that, whoever's around, sorry, sorry, mm-mm, sorry. I used to ask him, but he didn't want to tell me concrete because that crew did end up missing. That crew did end up missing. Whatever happened. So more or less, Sean City discretion. Yeah. So the mob rule number 1, number 5, number 66 of the mobster tales is, boy, there's like the Bible says. Let's give a shout out. It's Sunday. Let's give a shout out to Jesus. Yeah. A shout out to my book. There's a link in the description. Help a guy out, Bidenomics. Okay. Help a guy out. So yeah, I got one viewer right here. I want to do a video and just talk, just in the Bible, the words give life and words give death. In words, just words, some words equal life, some words equal death. And you're dodging the mob, you're dodging the feds, you're dodging rats, you're dodging killers, and I thought I was street smart, but I was in a little over my head. Just a young sprout. So, what else we got? What else we got? Big sports day today. Holy cow! The Bills are still trucking along. The Bills are trucking along pretty good. Dodgers, Yankees. Yeah, used to come into the club and They used to talk about their bad beats and everything, and then a lot of them would pay up and things like that. But sometimes they would owe one family a gambling ring, and they'd owe big money, and then they would, yeah, mob rule number 77, mafia rule number 77. When you owe a family money and you're and you haven't paid it yet, and you bet with another mob family, they compare notes. Okay, they compare notes because a lot of times they'll ask, is this guy good for this or that? Is this guy good for this? And then you'll get the approval. But a lot of people don't want that on their name. They don't want to approve somebody like that. So they'd ask Sam, yeah, there's a guy here, blah, 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 one of your guys, and he wants to get down over here. And Sam would be like, nah, I don't think so. He's still got to pay his tab here. What a cutie pie he is. So some of the guys after that, if they paid their tab, they'd have to put cash up. They'd have to put cash. You're not just betting 2,000 a game, Billy, anymore and playing all these games. You either put the cash up, and anybody sometimes. A couple times I was around, and he told me, hey, on Sunday morning or something, or Saturday football, college football, whatever, go pick up this guy over here. He'll be waiting for you, and I gotta bring him to the club, and he's gonna leave the money at the club, and that's that. That chasing game. Now, my godfather used to go after the deadbeats. The deadbeats. What's up, Dave? So another job duty that my godfather had was the people that didn't pay whatever his duties were, whatever Sam told him to do, or anybody outside of that. I mean, I don't know. I know my godfather smashed a couple of these guys, but God bless him, God rest him. But that's what they would do, Mr. Amari. I'm still standing. So yeah, he would go after some of them, and sometimes intimidation, sometimes get smashed up. It ain't just like, well, I made a mistake. I bet with another bookie, and oh well, I'm sorry. It's like, no, that's a flagrant foul. That's a flagrant foul. That's a flagrant two. And I used to tell the one guy, he got smashed up pretty good. And I said, he'll find out. It's a gambling ring network. They know every dollar. They know all the big bets. They know that these guys are 60, 70 years old, these old timers. They know everything that moves. They talk to each other from Buffalo, Niagara Falls to New York City. They talk. They talk. They're like the freaking CIA. They're like the FBI. There's nobody going to get any curveballs by these guys. They've seen all those tomfoolery games for decades. Then you got these young guys in their 20s and 30s in the crew, and they think they're going to outfox. Another mafia rule, number 72. Don't try to outfox the bosses of the mafia, okay? You're not going to win that game. These guys seen everything from A to Z before those crew guys were even born. I used to joke around with Sam, and he'd say, well, Rocky owes something such over here, and he's getting down. I says, but it's low money. Yeah, it's about $600, $700, $800. But when you bring them, say, hey, have you been betting lately? Hey, how'd you do on the games? I was like, I don't like to talk like that, but how'd you do it? Any luck this weekend or whatever like that? But I don't want to try to pick people's brains for Sam, because Sam more or less knew, but he wanted confirmation just out of curiosity. There's nothing more he could find out about these crew guys he already knows it all, but it just for kicks and thrills, I don't know if they just like to see them squirm or, but these people were, a lot of these people were already dealing with the feds. A lot of the people were already dealing with the feds, and Sam knew. Now Sam knew the feds. The boss knew the feds. You're a gangster for 50 years. You know this district feds. You know what's going on there. And I wonder how he made it to old age without ever going to prison to do life for 30 years or 40 years. So maybe, old man, God bless you, Sam. I love you forever. God rest his soul. But he might have played a little both sides of the fence. He might have played a little both sides of the fence. That's 99.9. 99.9. I know that. So he retired and everything, but holy cow. Hey, Sir Drums, man, where have you been, my man? I'm still trucking. I'm the marathon man. I'm the only guy that'll do a 2-hour video at midnight. I love the action. I love the action. What a sports day it was today. Holy cow. I watched every type of sports you could known to mankind. So, yeah, don't speak on other people's behalves and don't um co-sign for somebody. Oh, is somebody good for this? Somebody good for that? Well, I don't know if they're a good payer or bad payer. I don't know. Mm-mm. Well, Mike in the office, a steel brokerage, a legitimate steel brokerage, the guy that I started working for originally, he he had people coming in there left and right. He had people in and out of the office. It was a business office, a business complex, and he had people coming in and out of there all the time. But it's like you can't let people get stuck too much money. You can't let them get in too deep, and they'll try to take free shots at you, or you got to put cash up. So yeah, you can never speak on somebody's behalf. Oh, well, you were with them all day, Joe. Well, I don't know. I don't know. How do you not know? You were with them all day. Where's I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know. And then they'd get pissed off at me and say, well, you got to take that up with the head honcho because I'm more afraid. Well, what's the lesser of two evils? But I thought I was cute because I had my godfather protecting me until my godfather said, I'm in New York. You're in Niagara Falls and Buffalo. I've had enough. You better just get the hell out of there. I can't do that anymore for you. I can't do that anymore. Maybe you're driving a guy around that's going to get ambushed, because he also told me that you got to understand he told me there's bad actors up there. There's a lot of bad actors. You're driving these guys around. What if somebody's gunning for somebody and you happen to be out there? What if somebody's following you and watching you with this guy and they're going to smash this guy and you're just sitting there trying to make a $50 bill, giving a guy a ride and he's out all night and he's being tracked? What if you get caught in the crossfire? Hmm. So he's like, you bet, like Pink Floyd, you better run. Sir Drums, how's it going out there, my man? Whoa, boy. God is good every day. God is good. I don't care if they froze my ticker. I don't even care anymore. Long as a couple guys show up in here, we'll have some fun. Mobster Tales and Mafia Rules. And Mike Francis, some of you guys know or don't know, but I've talked a lot about good old Mike before. And he was he asked me a couple questions when I was down in the city, and then next thing you know, a few years later, he's testifying in front of Congress, speed ratting. Like, oh, geez, gosh. But witness protection, yeah, okay. But hey, you could talk smack, but Mike, the thing that bothered me when I talk about you can't claim rank and say you're a boss when you know you're not a boss. Oh, they started YouTube up and now I got a Mafia channel. So I'm gonna say I was the boss of the Colombo family. Really, Billy? Really? That's like that's like a rule that doesn't even have to be uttered. That's just like that's an assumed rule that everybody knows that you can't go around in these uh circles claiming that. You can't claim that. I don't know if he claimed it while he was on the streets, but when he got to YouTube, he was claiming, yeah, and he was doing interviews, and it was like he was being addressed as former mafia boss here, former mafia boss doing an interview. Really, Mike? You knew you weren't a boss. But I guess everybody's dead or everybody's doing life in prison, so you ain't got anything to worry about, my friend. You're in a fortress out there in California, that scum state of California. New Yorkers that got enough money to rock and roll in New York. Well, I'd like to see the California coast and the beach and everything like that. But go back to New York and live out the rest of the years. But who am I to talk? Who am I to say? But eh, I always have conflicted feelings about him. But then again, I understand that's that mob world. But you know what you're getting into when you go in, so you shouldn't rat. You shouldn't rat. You knew what you were doing when you were going in. You were born into it. You knew every aspect about the rules, and then you know you don't rat. If somebody asks you what time it is and you got a watch right on your wrist, you tell them, I don't know what time it is. That's all. I don't know anything because everything will come back and haunt you. Everything will come back and haunt you. Yeah, like Sam was asking me a question. If I rolled the guy out of the money, I knew he already knew the answer. They ask you questions they already know the answers to. Play that game. Yeah. hmm Another little trick. They know the answer, and then they're just trying to pick your brain and see how you react to it. So it's a lot of. If you go into the club, you more or less just got to sit like a statue and a mannequin and just say yes, no, and any casual kind of freaking dialogue could freaking trigger something. And I was pretty green going in. I was pretty green, screwed up a few times, and then I started realizing, whoa, 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 whoa. How could you? I thought I was street smart in my teenage years, and I thought I was street smart. I knew I was book smart, and I thought that nobody could get a curveball by me. Uh, I thought I knew everything, and then I was realized, But then I also realized when I was getting gypped by some of these guys. I was like, everybody for themselves. Yeah, that's all there is to it. You're on your own. Everybody, you can't go back to Kansas, Dorothy. Everybody's on their own, and act accordingly the best you can. So, yeah, everybody owed money. That's the common denominator. Markers, and for a lot of their hustles, these guys were making big money. I brung a guy, big time hustler. He was part of that when that cartel guy came up, but he had a good side hustle. He hooked me up a couple good times. So, him and Sam, they weren't showing their hand on how much they made or this and that, but they were part of this cartel. In a certain fashion, and he they 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 knew, like, who, I don't know how to put it. My mind is shot. Well, drugs were supposed to be taboo, but they knew, and then they would ask. Sam would always ask me, because there was a mishap and I had to bring a guy, all the blah 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 bullshit, and he would ask me the very certain minutia, and I would just say, well, I really don't know any of that, or what are you getting at? And he I was bringing a guy home. This is what I was getting to. And he was a hustler with that cocaine and gambling. He was a hustler. He was hustling good money. First time I had to bring him home, late hours, he's drinking and everything else. First time I brought him home, it was in a broken down area of Niagara Falls. I thought we were going to go to a nice property, nice landscape. And I said, oh, is this where you live? And he got all pissed off. What do you do? Blah, blah. I'm sorry. I just thought that out of all the money that goes through your fingers during the week, I didn't say it, but I just said, oh, well, I just thought you lived somewhere else. Oh, you're trying to say I live in a, well, I wanted to say it's the freaking ghetto of Niagara Falls, not black, but it was just a rundown area of shitty houses and apartments. Like, wow, you risk your life, you're running around crazy in the mafia, and then when you go lay your head down, it's in a shitty apartment. What? You're going to end up dead or doing life in prison, and that's what you're reaping from your freaking energy. That's the benefits you're getting. Golly. Couple guys had nice spots out in Lewiston on the outskirts of Niagara Falls. They had stuff set up. A couple were stacking money, whatever they were doing, whatever happened. If at the worst they went to jail, they had their family set up. That's only like 30%. Other guys are just cowboys. Wherever it ends, it ends. So, yeah, that's one thing that kind of fascinated me or surprised me the most out of running around with these guys that just had this gambling ring and drug ring, and the money's constantly coming in, and they're constantly blowing it, and then they just next week they'll get more, and they're just constantly blowing it, and then they run out of luck, and they don't. But I say 30% got set up nice, beautiful property, established property, out in the outskirts. The guy had a nice property. The millionaires live out there. It's a very affluent area outside of Niagara Falls, and the guy had a real nice property. And then right down the street from there was another guy that had a nice property where they had the high limit poker games. The high limit poker games they would play out in these nice, and it was guarded. There were guards there because there's $500,000 on the table. These guys they even let regular civilians into these high limit card games that they didn't care if they were playing with the mob. They were secure. They were innocent. They just like to gamble. CEOs of companies and millionaires, whatever, they like to rock and roll. And those were protected. People did try to rob Mafia card games. People did try to rob Mafia card games, and they got smashed. So, yeah, you wonder why they don't put some money aside. You got a wife and 2 kids. what happens when you go to prison? Who's going to pay the rent for your wife and two kids? Don't you have an emergency fund? Honey, I I took some bricks out in the basement and there's $40,000 in the basement. So I'll be out in 7 years. So you can, do what you got to do there. I got some money stashed. Some people stash money because you couldn't trust anybody, and these guys just couldn't go put 40,000 in the bank. You couldn't. You had to figure out other ways to secure uh, lump sums of money, and they did. Some did, but mm, most of them went to prison broke. Most of them got whacked and they were broke. And I think they just were just innately cowboys that just thought more about that than their family. My godfather got uh, got caught up a couple times, and he had family, and he had a emergency fund. He wasn't a gambler, and he had money for his family. When he got paid, he didn't live beyond his means. He save it for a rainy day. I got to go do 3 years for assault or something or some bull crap. Well, everything's gonna be all right with his beautiful family. And I don't know what his wife thought about, you know, how how are you married to a guy that's a mafia assassin? If you didn't know that he was involved in that, you would have thought he was the most pleasant guy, big linebacker, but you'd have just thought, well, he's a nice, soft-spoken guy, very intelligent. You wouldn't know that but he just happened to be an assassin, and they got spouses. They got spouses. I mean, but he lived, and the thing is, he wasn't a made guy. He was an enforcer for the mafia, but he didn't get made. He said, "What I'm going to get made? They're giving me the money. I'm not paying trib." These people, they go out and they do all their hustles and this and that. You got to hand the money into the boss. So all these the crew's out there hustling all this money up, and then you got to hand it over for all your energies, and then you just get a weekly paycheck, and then whatever you could hustle behind the boss's back, which they did. But at that point in time, the boss didn't care, more or less. He knew it all, what was going on. He knew what was going on. He had a turn at the club. At the club, he had this, my good people. At the club, he had uh shelves that had whiskey on it. You'd open a door and there'd be uh, shelves, like 3 or 4 shelves that would stock whiskey. We were in there late night one time because his ride got screwed up or something. It was one of the rare times I had to give Sam the boss a ride, and we were screwing around. I was eating in there late night. He's running a restaurant, but it was a club too, and I would go in there and eat and everything, and uh, it, I feel bad about talking about the old man, but they knew what was going on. I mean, I know I'm getting scattered here, but I feel bad because everybody's dead, you know. But these guys, they with this money, why don't you save a little? Just put some away. Uh, it don't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense that yeah, I don't know, make you crazy. Uh, but I'm trying to come up with the mob rules and mobster tales, and there's probably like 12 of them in there, but it was like Don't show your hand. Don't flash bankrolls, and get in and get the hell out. Yeah, my poor godfather. He 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 knew that that regime. He knew that was going to come to an end, and so you just know that them guys are going to be gone. They're just gone, and I. But you got to save some money up for your family. That's all. You got to save a couple dollars for your family. Jeez, the money that goes through their hands, and then they they're not even benefiting from it. They're not even benefiting from it. How does that work? Yeah, some are just hard nosed Guidos. Oh yeah, some are just hard nosed guys that just rock and roll till the inevitable. They just rock and roll. They just don't have any conscience. But yeah, Sir Drums. Yeah, Yankees and Dodgers. Yeah, the New York Yankees. The Mets are gone. Yeah, they hung in there for a spell. The Dodgers got them, but wow. The New York Liberty, WNBA, they won the championship. The WNBA, the New York Liberty, they won. Oh, it's a great game. I never thought I'd be liking WNBA because I talked a lot of smack about it before, but they're playing some good competitive games. They're getting it on. They're getting it on. They're playing some good stuff there. So no Subway Series. No. But holy cow, they were up against it all year. They were like the miracle team, but that the Dodgers, they just keep the Yankees gonna have their hands full. The Yankees are gonna have their hands full because them Dodgers, they just keep coming in waves and waves and waves. And every pitcher they have, every pitcher is just Cy Young winners. Oh, freaking holy cow. What else do I got here? Where's my producer? Where's my director? It's 1:30. It's almost 1:30 in the morning. I'm talking. Yeah, let's see. What else? I don't know. I've said it all. I said it already. Yeah, we'll talk about the runs the next time. Uh, you know, but another thing, what I wanted to do a lot of times, and the boss told me don't go up to the club without being summoned first. You just can't come up to the club unannounced and stuff like that. But I used to just to hustle money from the guys that needed me for something, and it's like I didn't get the handbook, I didn't get the memo when I came in here because I don't know how many rules and policies that there's a lot of common sense. Yeah, there's a lot of common sense, but there's other traditions and everything that you got to learn pretty quick, which you know there's a lot of policies when you're not a made guy and you're running around. Like if I'm with the one guy and we're gambling and everything like that, it's more in a lax position. We're not under the microscope, so maybe there could be a little whatever. It ain't. We're just regular civilians at the most, but you still got to be careful. Just like in regular society, you got to be careful with everybody. Even just have your radar up. So that's that, folks. The mafia rules, mafia policies, and everything that went on that goes along with it. Uh, don't show your hand and just have amnesia. That's all. That's all. If you were right there for 2 hours and that's when you left, somebody asked you, were you there for 2 hours? Nah, I don't think I was. Well, when was that? Well, that was 2 hours ago. You were there. Nah, I don't think so. I think you got the wrong guy. No. Better to do that. It sounds silly, but it's the only way. It's the only way. That's the only way you can rock and roll like that. Because once you acknowledge into that, that opens the door for all kinds of tomfoolery and other stuff. So you're always handicapping somebody, which means you're always reading people, decoding what the hell they're saying. So there you have it, folks. We're gonna do Mafia rules and Mobster tales until the cows come home. And I appreciate them that come in here, that we're in here right now. I appreciate you good people that hang out. You know me. Anybody else that watches this in the future, welcome aboard. It's little old me, just trying to have a little late night fun here. You know, see some old friends, good for the soul. So there you have it. Now, see, a lot of times I'm. This was years ago, and I just do this on the fly, and things are darting in and out of my mind of that branch off into other subplots. I try to tell a story with a plot, whatever the plot is, or the storyline, and then there's all this other crazy stuff that reignites memories. That I never remembered until just now. So yeah, there's a link in the description to the book. Hit the like button. We're gonna just do the Mobster tales and Mafia rules for a while. Keep an old man busy, and that's all we can do, my good people. And remember, we are blessed for what we have, and we're not cursed for what we don't have. All right. So you woke up today and you got a roof and you got a refrigerator, you're doing fine. All right. Let's don't get so off-centered. Yeah. Money comes in handy to live good, prosperous life and everything like that. But if you got a roof over your head and you got a refrigerator, you're doing good. Be happy about it. Be happy that you're alive, and things could always get better tomorrow. The sun will come up tomorrow. So, yeah, we keep a level head, have a little fun, and then try to prosper in our everyday life, in whatever capacity that is. Just, the world is a vampire. It wants your blood, of course, but the mob world is one thing, but just regular people in society, you got to work your way up. You have families. You got to stay focused. You got to stay aware in just regular day life. It's hard enough. The world gets a little crazy. Stay focused. Don't get off your game. All right, folks. So that's it. If you can support the channel, there's a Cash App link in there. Do whatever you got to do. This Bidenomics is going crazy. And yeah. So thank you so much. Be the kings and queens of your world. Don't give up. Don't stop throwing. Don't stop punching. Keep going. You'll get there. You'll get there. If you need some counseling or some therapy, just go to the comment section and I'll try to help you out. All right. Okay, folks. Have a good life. Have a good life. Have a good life. Have a good week. Stay positive and stay strong. Thanks for your support, folks. God bless y'all.